of the musical.
Who are we hearing?
This is Laszlo, the Monster Cat release. Happy Monday, everybody. It's the start of the Monday. Well, no, it's not. We're in the middle.
Yeah, man.
We're in the middle
Welcome
of
to the Rock Block. Welcome to House Rockin' Block, featuring Grey Worm.
We're rocking and we're blocking. And we're socking and we're knocking.
Man, I got called out. I tweeted out a picture of my doorless Jeep.
Yeah.
First response was, now you need to wear flip-flops. And then I took a photo of my flip-flops. It was amazing.
Well, how else would we fill that out to make you the ultimate doorless Jeepman?
They were saying I have to wear cargo shorts, which I think is accurate. Yeah.
Do we not go jorts? Are we going past jorts?
Wait, jorts are what?
Jean
those?
shorts.
Oh, cutoffs. Cutoffs might be as good. Man.
Well, not. I mean, like cutoffs. I always think those are like higher up the thigh, right? Like jorts are more just like regular shorts.
Oh no. Well, like there are a number of pants that I have scuffed something or at the bottom it got chewed up, so I just decided they are now jean shorts, and I would cut them off just below the knee.
Oh, gotcha.
And then roll them up so that the seam was just above that kneecap.
Just
so
above the knee.
Because I wanted to be on /R/D's knees. You got it. I got a rep to maintain. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I do. I do know what you're saying.
As being a fetish item?
Hey,
What's up?
We haven't gone back. We haven't gone back to revisit this idea, but Justin and I had an idea for a feature-length documentary that could happen of the two of us.
Called A Bowl of Shrimp.
They are definitely just eating. Are they cooked at all? Pre-cooked shrimps?
There's a big old bowl of shrimp, dog.
Hey, man. A bowl of shrimp, the movie.
I did.
It's got that
flow last
that
night,
Cajun
guys. Let
seasoning
me
on
tell
there.
you. But I'm ready to go live any moment.
All right, Andrew, we're
Andrew.
What? I meant 2 lines.
JC Calhoun, I'm going home right after Hotline Monday.
Also-
It's funny. It's like I think about like my vices and like what's my like secret vice? Like I go get chocolate chip cookies and I warm them up in the microwave. You know. I know friends like a friend did for his birthday did mushrooms. Are like I put cherry syrup in my water, so it's like
Whoa! Whoa! Hold on, Hollywood.
rock and roll lifestyle, guys.
Hollywood.
All right.
I still have those stories that you sent along, I believe, last week that I don't think we got to.
Oh yeah, let me check my notes on those. I forgot. Well, we keep forgetting to talk about the Space Corps and
Space Corps.
Yeah, space military.
Boba Fett.
I'm all good. Or what are we? Nobody's waiting on me, right?
Just 1 more minute for me.
Okay, cool. No, I just want to make sure I wasn't holding everything up.
But if you need time, let me know. News. Promo line. I was really glad we took that day off yesterday, Brian.
What's that?
I was glad we took that day off yesterday.
Oh, good.
I-
You felt recharged,
Oh yeah.
reinvigorated,
Yes, sir. I also
rejuvenated.
drank a whole bottle of wine.
I actually had a tough time.
Oh, really?
Well, because it's difficult for me to like. I can get into stealing myself for hard work mode.
Yeah.
It's hard to flip a switch and then go jolly dad mode. So instead, like the kids were just, every project I did with the kids, I'm like, no, it's got to be this. You're just thinking in get stuff done mode, not be a dad that they'll love when you're dead.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I remember, Dad was very project focused. He really wanted us to.
Oh
get
yes,
it done.
reminder. We should. I wonder if this should be a thing in the show. DCTV.link/2017. The people who are going to rebuild DCTV want your input on what the next version of DiamondClub.tv should look like. They have a really quick Google survey. I filled it out in like 5 minutes. Real easy. You don't need to give your name or nothing.
Just to look into as everything evolves and changes, and we are coming under the stewardship of the Estonian Wunderkind T2T2.
As Estonia continues to take territory previously belonged to America.
So we want to know what you guys want out of DiamondClub.tv. So go ahead and
Yeah.
check it out.
DCTV.link/2017. All right. Well, good guys.
Bryce, do you mind if I tweak the color temperature on this?
I mean-
I'm so blue.
Well, don't move. Warmer, but it's.
Well, normally we do 3500. So if it's
this is a different lens.
a
Do you want to see 3500? I mean, that's super orange.
yeah, that is. Why would you do that? Why would you put me on 3500? I can't believe you would do that. I thought we had
jeez,
an understanding.
Ugh.
Ugh.
Nah.
I just always I look like I'm an inspirational photo.
Yeah, you got the really close. You got the really tight
Constantly
lens.
looking up.
Yeah, at Salvation Army. Like this guy made it through.
No, you're right. No,
sorry.
I look like the front image of a Union pamphlet. Like the hardworking Americans that
Hey,
have
man,
made this land.
I'm a welder. I
know.
weld. That's what I do.
Public 407.
And when steel-collared robots are gonna steal my job.
Steel collared. Oh, that's great. All right. I'm ready if you guys are good to go. So take it away, Andrew, in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Yeah, that's right. As always, right here in my studio, all by my lonesome, just like I always am.
Justin Robert Young.
I'm here in the studio too. Brian has already told his first of many lies. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as the lamestream Brushwood continues to fill your ears with the fibs he has done for years.
EIB.
Yeah, we'll be right back on the EIB.
Mr. Snurdly. Gentlemen, do you hear that? Do you hear the sound of that?
Is that the world's tiniest violin weeping for our loss at the movie draft? No.
So I actually muted you trying to turn down my volume.
You know what?
no.
I give that excuse to myself too.
We
I'm just muting myself to turn down my volume.
I think Brian. I don't know what that sound is. It's very distinct, but I can't make it out, Andrew.
Is it the sound of money being spent?
Oh yes, that's definitely part of it. Gentlemen, it's the call. It's this. Imagine Uncle Sam, but he's in a spacesuit, or maybe it's a space chimp. Maybe it's like Abel or Ham pointing towards you, saying, "I want you for the Space Corps."
Okay, now Space Corps sounds to me. Well, we're looking at a picture of it right now. It sounds to me like straight out of Starship Troopers. I mean, not that I wouldn't join the Starship Troopers cosplay. That would be a great squadron cosplay, by the way.
Co-ed showers. I mean, I was watching that like sign me up. Like, grab ass and slap towel those hotties in there. I'm like, all right, this is
I know.
from
Johnny
integrated
Rico.
military, right? These
all
do
right.
not accurately reflect the views of weird things. We encourage a very dynamic work environment free of sexual harassment.
So,
What is the Space Corps? Is this an actual
So-
government institution?
So the idea is the thought that perhaps what we need to do is not unlike, at one point we had like the Air Force. There was actually just the Army had an Air Force, and we said we need our separate Air Force. We created the Air Force. The Marines, which are actually under, let's say, the Navy, but the Marines are their own part of the Pentagon. Like you've got Navy, Air Force, Marines, Army, Coast Guard, which is actually, we forget that often, but that's an armed force. And the idea is to create a new one, a sixth one, Space Corps.
that's a pretty badass name. I mean, like by and large, even the Coast Guard is probably the best way that you could name, unless it was just like the Sea Fighters or something. like that's a good ass name.
Sea Warriors.
Yeah, and I'm down with Space Corps.
So the premise is based upon the idea that as we expand more into space, and space becomes a very, very important, it's strategically, crucially important. You take out our satellites, you take out what's defending us there, absolutely important. The idea that if you're putting missiles or other technologies up there, and that we maybe need to have our own branch dedicated to protecting our space superiority, or just protecting, being able to defend and protect us from threats that are space related.
I mean, it's kind of a necessity at a certain point, right? Like this is about the time where we should start thinking about the fact that more and more private stuff is going to go up there, and there can be problems that need to be mediated.
Would it be too Infowars.com for me to speculate out loud that some version of this already exists and is just looking for an official name and source of funding? Like, I mean, are you telling me there's not some, deep operatives that are trained, specifically to handle space missions?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that. I mean, like within the Air Force, there is the Space Command Wing, which handles a number of these things, and that's sort of their purview right now. And some people in the Air Force, like, we've got this. Why do you want to create a separate organization? And there's pro and con to the idea of creating a separate entity for doing it. The pro is, it's like, well, that's great. You're focused on air, and you're providing some support, things like this, all this. Space is a separate sort of thing, and that we need to have somebody responsible for, that's their priority, of space defense. And think of it as you have growing, they had a mishap with the Long March, but China is aggressively pursuing their own space opportunities. China's already destroyed one of their own satellites in orbit to see what could happen, which could have caused a cataclysm. And you could have one small minor event could cause a big problem there. And the idea of, let's say, a Space Corps is to say, we need a group that's focused purely on that. That's what they're looking at, is they're looking for those threats and trying to figure out how to protect our
So
interests in
I wonder,
space.
okay, so let's speculate and fantasize wildly about what this would look like, because I would imagine to some degree, when you think of the Army, when you think of the Marines, you think of boots on the ground, you think of bodies that are stronger, tougher, faster, and go farther and hold their breath longer and stuff. I don't know that quite does the whole job for a Space Corps. I guess they would also have to test very well in matters of 3D rotation, of instinctual understanding of orbital mechanics and that kind of stuff.
I mean, I guess you keep thinking about physical people, but like when I think of the Air Force, I think of like how so much of it's just drones. It's automated, it's machines, it's doing that sort of thing. And I don't know if we're talking about actually like astronauts and troops training for space missions as much as just an agency like how we have parts of the Air Force which monitors our satellites and stuff.
Well, what I would imagine is that the reason why they would want to branch out into something different is that they will now have their own budget that they wouldn't have dependent on the Air Force, right?
Yes.
And
yeah, that's a big part of it, because you take like every Air Force cost overrun for some fighter or some technology takes away from other parts of that.
Yeah.
Where if you're a separate Space Corps, you can say we want X, Y, or Z, and not have, and that's the problem we run into all the time in the military. We've have our littoral ships programs, we've had programs that, naval things that hugely expensive that have drained our capabilities in other areas. And the idea is it's like, that's that, Corps' problem, not ours.
yeah. And one would imagine that if you are going to continue to have your own budget funded, that you would want to be doing it while out there in the world there is more and more news about space and things that are going on up there and things that could go wrong potentially. Like that.
And I would say, to Brian's point, the sooner you can start training actual people to do space missions and stuff, and say that we're doing repair, we're doing these sort of things, and putting bodies in space for that. That's kind of, from a PR point of view, that's kind of awesome.
Well, sure, and it's kind of, if you are in these forms of government, right, and theoretically, the absolute worst case scenario that can happen to you is you giving the answer, we don't have an answer for that, right? Like, you would need it now. I mean, like, we're not far away from a huge boom. We're already seeing a huge boom in private interaction with space because rockets are getting cheaper. And we are only going to see more of that. We're only going to see more governmental work like that as the technology curve kind of flattens out a little bit. And that's, I don't know. It as much as it is right now, it's telling that the image that we want to put on these stories are Starship Troopers. It is just kind of a realistic thing that we should be paying attention to.
Certainly, it's the degree to which it's just going to be drones and robots and everything else doing that. I think that's a thing that sort of like kind of the larger reality of that is. But we have this. You have China, which is spending tremendous amounts of money trying to develop their space program as quickly as they can and trying to catch up with the rest of the world. And in their mind, they want to, surpass. And you're looking at the frontier of this, where you have people talking about sober, sane people talking about mining the moon, the value of putting things into orbit, having control over certain orbital patterns, et cetera. It's only going to become, bigger and bigger and bigger. And so, the con to the Space Corps is, it becomes another big, huge agency that soaks up money and maybe has overreaching conflicts with other organizations. Like, I know the Air Force isn't too thrilled about the idea of having that, because they look at so much of what they do as space and satellite.
Yeah. Well, and I can understand where there is going to be intergovernmental tension, but and I don't know, but I guess that to me seems like far more of just an inter-Pentagon, kind of argument on whether or not the issue should be the Air Force modernizing to focus more on this, or if it's a new program, a new thing altogether.
Yeah, we're going to have, more discussions. It's sort of something that it's been floated before and mentioned before, but it does. I mean, I'm just saying, Brian, earlier to your point, it will grow into something where we would have, manned satellites and things like that, and stations and stuff, because that's part of the thing that if you're going to want to repair a satellite or fix something really, really fast, and it's a military asset like the Hubble missions, then you're going to need people who have the skill sets you were describing earlier. That is, I see that as an inevitability.
Man, I wonder if what would they look like? Do you think they would be essentially
chimpanzees,
cyborgs? And actually, chimpanzees. Do we talk about this on the air before? I've heard about a video. I've not seen it, but apparently there is a viral video out there somewhere of chimpanzees doing extraordinary number memorization in an extremely short amount of time.
They have better memorization than we do.
Right. So it's like they'll be flashed a screen with a bunch of numbers, and then in order, when that'll be gone, and they will touch all the right spots in the right order of where all the numbers were, in just superior to humans' ability to do the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So maybe they would be like, here we go. I think we're looking at it right now. It says symbolic representation and working memory in chimpanzees. Have you seen this before?
I mean, I've seen the research before of that, and actually on the extras for, I think, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, they actually show a clip.
Oh, really? That makes sense. But that's interesting. So if we're thinking true blue sky out of the box thinking, I was gonna joke about cyborgs, but I guess really cyborg chimps might be a important part if they could translate things correctly.
I mean, I think I'm gonna just sort of imagine it'll be people and robots for the foreseeable future, and not to say the other would be
not
true.
Not my mind, man. So many chimps.
It's smart chimps, sim chimps, whatever, from Clark. Yeah, that was his thing, was like having the super intelligent chimps building space stations and stuff. And what could possibly go wrong with that? But yeah, we're looking at the chimpanzee doing the number task where
Oh
they
my
flash
God.
20 numbers on a screen, and then they keep it a shorter amount of time where the numbers go away, and it's incredible. They have aptitudes we don't have.
Yeah. That is crazy. Yeah, that is scary fast.
So we're going to find out more. We'll see, like, probably as, Congress meets and whatnot. We have now the Space Council, which has been restarted, which is going to be headed up by our Vice President Pence, which is going to meet and talk about space issues. And the goal of the Space Council is to come up with a sort of a unified vision for space, not just for what our purposes are, but also to figure out, all right, if NASA needs this rocket and the Air Force needs this thing, could we use the same infrastructure for both instead of developing two separate projects? And, that's going to be kind of a goal towards, streamlining that, which is I think is a good thing. It doesn't mean like, oh, we're only going to get one choice, but it does mean that we're going to give more opportunities to Blue Origin and SpaceX. So.
Well, yeah. And I mean, that just seems like rewarding those that are moving things forward, right?
Well, so on the subject of that, Elon Musk this weekend had an interesting tweet.
All right. Everybody back up, push the couches back, because Andrew is about to take the widest, most jubilant victory lap that you have heard on this show in a very, very, very long time. Get your streamers ready, because here he goes. What did Elon Musk tweet?
Well, let's go back a couple months or a while, and on these very microphones, one of us, I forget who, we're going to share credit, had postulated, had done kind of when Elon Musk first proposed the interplanetary transport system, the big, huge rocket ship, this thing they want to build after the Falcon, the thing that can go to Mars, the fully reusable rocket system. This thing was massive, and some people said, "Oh, wouldn't it be cheaper to build a smaller version?" And I was at first like, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think there's a cost advantage to building a smaller version of it because your R&D and all that. And so I was one of these people like, why would you do smaller? Then I thought, was going to visit the SpaceX factories and looking around. I'm like, oh, it's not so much smaller because your materials costs are lower. You do it smaller so you could use the existing infrastructure. Because when you're inside a SpaceX factory, you see like they make the rocket engines here, they make these things here. You've got the people, you've got the tooling. So if you could make your rockets there, and people are like, oh, because, man, there's a lot of speculation online. Like, what if they just open up the rocket plant over here or whatever? Like, I'm sure they want to build up rocket plants in Florida or Alabama or Texas, but that takes years. It's not just a matter of a building. There are like something like 6,000 employees at SpaceX. Thousands of them work at the main facility. And so if you want to build rockets in some other part of the country, it's not like you start next week. It takes several years to build up to that. Yeah. Your capital costs, your factory, your facility, your tooling, and your people is a huge expenditure. And that was one of the biggest problems facing the ITS was he wants to build this big rocket. Okay, are you going to build an entirely new rocket assembly? Because this thing, if you remember from the presentation, is 12 meters across. It's 36 feet across. It's huge. So on these microphones, somebody here speculated, said, hey, since part of the core technology there is this new methane-based engines and carbon fiber technology, that maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to do a smaller scale rocket, not because, oh, we'll spend less, but because you could use the same factories they have now to do that. So somebody here proposed that. Somebody had speculated that perhaps we're going to see a revised, downscaled version of the ITS with, and I would say that, some of the reaction in the world was, that's ridiculous, that's silly, or I'm just going to manufacture it a cent so it makes it sound more important.
Real quick, explain to me again the benefits of a scaled down ITS, why you would want it smaller. Like, what are the, just for less fuel or?
No. It's you've been to the factory in Hawthorne, right?
Sure.
Okay. If you wanted to build something that was 12 meters across, 36 feet across, it wouldn't fit in there. You wouldn't be able to build that there.
Right. Okay.
You would have to have a new facility.
I see. Okay, yeah. Got it. So you're not saying, so it's not scaled down. It's just maximizing the current factory is capable of doing. Got it.
Exactly. You have this factory here. And so what's the biggest, if you could say, instead of trying to spend hundreds of millions or $1 billion on a new factory and take years to do it, what could we do here next year? And And you could still build the same sized engines instead of 42. Maybe you'd have 21 of them. You'd have the same technologies. It would just be at a different scale. And if that works, it would go there. And people there's speculation like use old shopping malls for assembly. That is your least cost. Your minimal cost is the actual building. And but then when you have to add gantries and all, it's the tooling, it's everything else. That's where the real expenses in the hiring. And again, you've got 6,000 people living in around Hawthorne, California, working there to try to create and recreate that somewhere else in the country and start over it's huge. And that's one of the things Elon Musk has made a point about, because you'll hear about some electric car company will show their prototype. And he's like, hey, the 99% of the job is actually going into production. It's like any competent team of 30 or 40 people could produce a one-off. Trying to produce these things in scale, that's the hard part. And it's like with rockets. It's like we look at the factory and think, the factory's the building. Like, the factory's the whole process.
It's the system. It's the people. It's the knowledge. It's the machining.
That's the other thing is number one. I knew a couple of people that were looking for jobs at another electric car company that I'll just colloquially refer to as Maraday Muture. And they were paying great. They were hiring all the right people, and they couldn't even get off the ground. To get into that is a huge thing. And not to mention, to get back to the rocket point, not only is it putting out all the money, not only is it building this place and staffing it, but it's also adding what I would imagine to be a fairly significant amount of risk that something's not going to be the same way that it is in this place where you've built all these rockets before. You're entering into just a new phase of making sure that you can build these things and they are as safe as they can. And for SpaceX, listen, as fast as they've gone, there was still a point about 3-4 months ago when they'd had a couple rockets blow up that you're like, well, geez, I'll tell you what, like this could be more of a problem if this happens on a regular basis.
Yeah, and they're couching the whole the idea when they launched the Falcon Heavy, though. Elon has said, hey, this thing may only clear the launch pad, so he's trying to couch that, and it's problematic. So Elon Musk over the weekend sent out a tweet that sent all of your SpaceX hardcore fanboys, which I'm certainly not excluded from, all a flutter.
For the audio listeners, Andrew is currently wearing a SpaceX T-shirt and a SpaceX hat.
Yeah, not to mention my undergarments, but we don't need to get into the details of that. So Elon Musk put out on Twitter, and as he's prone to doing with Twitter, as to getting people, he was just replying to somebody about building, something, whatever. He wrote a 9 meter diameter vehicle fits in our existing factories. ...
So I'm sorry. I guess I don't know the. This is in direct response to the question of will you make a smaller one, or?
It was somebody was talking about size or whatever, about how do you moving something or whatever, and about vehicle or whatever, and then he just mentioned just casually about because he's going to do an update the end of September about the latest plans, and the rumor had been a downscaled ITS, and this is the first time we've heard Elon Musk specifically say 9 meter, which would be still a 27-foot diameter rocket, which would still be humongous, and it would be Mars capable, but it would be the idea of they've learned so much building their Falcon rockets. Like the Falcon rocket now, the Falcon 9 now is in many ways a very different vehicle from the first Falcon 9. It's almost got twice the thrust because of all the stuff that they've been able to figure out. And I could see them saying, okay, let's take everything we know now, and let's build an entirely next generation rocket that's methane based with the entirety of full reusability. So.
Yeah, man. No, that'd be huge. And so, of course, we won't hear anything until the next big update. But that's certainly
the end of September. Now, the advantage. Let me explain the advantage of this rocket. Let's call it the 9 meter is. One is there's far more commercial capabilities, and he talked about the idea of something that could have more Earth applications, right? More Earth applications. What could we do, in Earth orbit, which means Earth customers. Now, the bigger one would be awesome, but only so many people are trying to launch massive payloads. And so if you have this rocket that's the largest rocket ever that's using, equivalent of Saturn V level fuel every time to take off, even though it's reusable, you still got to figure out, you got to justify it with a bigger cargo load. Now, if you have a downscaled version of that makes lower cost payloads, and you could eventually start doing the some of the Falcon missions and stuff on there. Although the Falcon 9 rocket has been doing some of the Falcon Heavy missions because the Falcon 9 is more powerful than it was first conceived. Air Force has put out a call. The Air Force says that they're looking for a next generation launch vehicle. They could bid on this. It wouldn't be able to fund the totality of it, but it would fund part of probably what they're looking to do this for. They're very strategic. You've heard Musk now. SpaceX did a appearance before Congress and our Senate and talked about, missions. They talked about, the moon's not a bad idea. Moon's capable. Build a base on the moon. Elon Musk has now said, building a base on the moon wouldn't be a bad idea. This would be a rocket fully capable of doing that just in time for an administration that says, we want to go back and build a permanent presence.
That's awesome.
So,
well, and I think the bigger kind of meta headline is that the future will be here faster if this rocket is smaller. Right. Agreed.
Now, it's funny because you'll hear, you go through some of the message boards, and they're like, oh, well, how are they going to get it out of Hawthorne? How are they going to get it out of there? No, number one, they're not going to effing launch the rocket from the middle of downtown Los Angeles, folks. I'm sorry. That is not going to happen. It's like people it is a rocket that can take off and land.
Ha!
No, he wants to build tunnels. Yes, he wants to build tunnels. Not so he can get his rocket out of there. And you read, I remember reading one, thread, and not to make, somebody on the internet's wrong, but, one person's like, it's going to cost $2 billion for them to be able to get this thing out of the factory. Because, how would you move a massive space vehicle around Los Angeles? I think it's impossible unless Bryce has some video that can show otherwise. I'm saying, you know what? Oh, wait, what are we watching?
Oh, my God. This is Space Shuttle Endeavor's trek across Los Angeles, and it's leaving from what I would assume to be LAX. It was a United terminal there.
Yeah, and understand that's got about a 60-foot wingspan, okay? So that's about
my God.
Twice in 2.3 times wider than the SpaceX next generation rocket or the booster would be. And also there's video of them moving the tank. The main fuel tank, which is actually about
all I want to do is watch this video listening to Dr. Dre's Let Me Ride.
So you're watching the space shuttle being moved through Los Angeles, right past Randy's Donuts, made famous in Iron Man. And they put it on the special platform. And so what the platform does is it can go sideways, it can move back and forth, and you're watching it through just
it's just all this collection of footage of just random apartment windows, it's just sort of rolling through LA.
Right through
just through neighborhoods.
Yeah, dude, it's wings coming within 2 or 3 feet of trees and look, in fact, yeah,
they had
they're
to
carefully
maneuver it
moving
around
over a
tree.
house to
Wow.
avoid a tree. Wow.
That's
I mean,
insane.
Oh, they have a little
Cherry picker to
cherry
chop
picker
down
to chop stuff
yeah.
down. Yeah. Wow.
So I'm going to put that as not a problem of moving that from, SpaceX factory to the port is doable since we've done it with the space shuttle. We've done it with the booster. We didn't have to move any bridges, maybe had to move some electrical cables. And you're going to be is LA going to want to do that? I don't know. LA has, the 6,000 person rocket facility that says, hey, we could keep work here. If you could maybe help us once or twice a year at night move a rocket from our factory to the port.
Yeah. No.
Oh, sorry. We got a Michael Bay movie we're shutting down the highway for. We can't do this.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. LA is very good at shutting things down for commercial purposes.
Yeah. Wow. I don't quite know. Yeah, I agree with you, and not to further dogpile on the internet straw man, but I'm with you. It doesn't seem like it's something that is physically impossible.
A comment was made doable but not practical. Well, we did it. We did it twice to put something in a museum to bring a rocket that's going to be our next moon capable or Mars capable rocket. And remember, we move the Falcon 9 cylinders cross country all the time. That happens all the time. So from a scale point, is moving a house practical? We do it all the time. Is moving massive construction equipment wider than one lane practical? We do it all the time. So on a scale of rockets, I'd say it's highly practical.
Well, sure.
Very.
I think there's what is now and what would be later, right? And if they had to disassemble light poles and do stuff like that, but this became something that was more of an industry to Los Angeles, then you would make adjustments for it, You know, that's
Yep.
what the city
or
of Los
possibly
Angeles does.
even do some factor that into your reconditioning of existing roads or whatever, where it's like we need some way to get gigantic space shuttle sized objects in and out of our city.
And there's a lot of like private public partnerships for stuff like that, where if it's like, hey, look, if you're going to use this route, then help us refurb this to not have light poles here and put all of them underground or something like that.
Yeah, and Musk has already got a pretty good relationship with the city of Los Angeles and whatnot. I mean,
Can we
and
talk
apparently
about
from
that?
his cryptic tweet.
Yeah, can we talk about the other Elon Musk tweet? Because everybody assumed that we were talking about the other BSI Elon Musk tweet, which is
I actually don't know the other one. I don't think.
casually, mega cash. You would imagine just as he's finishing breakfast or just go ahead and tweets out that he has verbal government approval
Commitment or
to do a hyperloop between Baltimore, D.C., New York, and Philadelphia. D.C. to New York, which would be the two northern and southern endpoints, in 29 minutes.
And city center to city center.
Wait, no, wait, an underground hyperloop.
I didn't. Yeah.
Okay. This seems like I don't know. It sounds to me if it were anyone else, I would assume that at a party somebody described a vision and some senator halfway in between mojitos says, "Yeah, that sounds great," and then now it's like verbal approval. Let's do it.
So he followed up and said that verbal approval was on the federal level. Still a lot of work before formal written approval, but this opens the door now for state and city discussions. But I think this is a bit of the sell job of, hey, look, we've got momentum. Wouldn't your cities be excited if they were effectively one city?
So this came out, and so transportation press, every people cover this sort of stuff, and sort of the oh, what now Elon Musk blogger crowd started calling around to different cities and stuff, and saying have you heard, New York transportation, have you heard about this? No. Anybody else? Nope. And we can't find anybody who says they've heard about
Sure.
this. Well, he did say federal level, guys. So if you're calling the city, that's your first civics class mistake. And if I were to think federal level, whose ear does he have?
Well,
Yeah.
and also at the federal level, let's say somebody flat out said, "I absolutely personally promise you we will make this happen." Like that's the level of commitment he got. That person is not going to make sure he gets into the office and says, "Hey, just in case any press call, make sure everybody knows that I verbally committed to this thing."
Well, I mean, beyond that, to me, that's
We got confirmation from where it came from, though, Brian.
Oh, yes.
What branch of the federal government?
Federal.
the White House.
The White House.
Oh, we did get confirmation from whom?
Came from the White House.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's on Trump's council. So
Yeah.
Was.
Asked
but
if
yeah.
it had
Was,
given
yeah.
Musk a verbal approval, a White House spokesman said, quote, "We have a promising conversations to date, are committed to transformative infrastructure projects, and believe our greatest solutions have often come from the ingenuity and drive of the private sector."
Remember that this is also around the time that they are trying to push a massive infrastructure bill. Obviously, without getting too far into the weeds about congressional politics, there's a bit of a logjam right now. But one of the things that has been promised from the very, very beginning of the Trump administration was a huge infrastructure bill. One might imagine that he has a part of that. To me, the smarter way to report a story like that, though, from the state and city level, is you call the state senators that are going to wind up voting on this kind of stuff, and you ask them whether or not they would be for or against. Because of course, it's not. If this plan had hit any state house, you think any state senator would hold a plan like this back and not leak it to whatever reporter?
Not tell
is-
everybody? Yeah, sure.
No, of course this is not just out there on the desk of random PDOT employees or New York Department of Transportation. But I'll tell you what, it's a fascinating idea.
Yeah, it's I've been personally very skeptical of Hyperloop, not because of the technology, but because it's the legislature. It's everything else that goes around with it. Is that these things are really neat ideas, but trying to get anything done in this day and age is very, very problematic. And the things succeed or fail based upon their opportunities for graft. We've had this California high-speed rail thing is, sputtered along, but it doesn't die completely because so many opportunities for people to make money off of, bonds and federal loans and other stuff. That's, a frightening reason for me personally to think that something would get funded.
So you give this 0 to 100. What percentage chance do you think we see any kind of construction on this within the next 10 years?
So if I wanted to make sure this thing happened, if I was, White House senator or whatever, and I wanted to see this happen, and I was trying to solve part of the problem of infrastructure spending is it always gets catastrophically goes out of budget because there's, it gets into the incentivized is that, if you're not going to have to pay the bill for 20 years, then why bother keeping costs down, which is why we are heading towards this horrifying financial cliff, on municipal, state, and federal levels because of our pension obligations and other stuff. And just, California is facing $1 trillion deficit because they decided to peg payouts on the stock market at its high because people thought that was a great idea. So if it would happen if it was tied directly into federal funding, saying that you want to get these funds in these certain corridors, you have to build a actual high-speed system, and we will make funds available to do that, and that'll open up funds for other things. It just comes down to saying, build this, we'll pay for other stuff. It's you look at the problem you have like between New York and San Francisco, their subway systems are falling apart, and for a multitude of reasons. And for them to think about we want to build a Hyperloop or whatever is insane to them because they're like, we're having trouble trying to solve these problems. And I would argue because you're the problem.
So just so we know,
0 to 100, 0 to 100. I'll come in at 9%. There's a 9%
chance.
Even that's charitable. I will give it a 5% chance of this happening within 10 years. Because the flaw is not the technology, the flaw is not the cost, the flaw, all of that. I believe all of that can be solved. The flaw, if you're saying, will everybody in all of the states between D.C. and New York agree to allow a company to burrow underneath them? No, not in the next 10 years. It's not going to happen.
So
not going to happen.
D.C., Maryland, Philadelphia, and New York State.
Yeah, in New Jersey
and Jersey.
And I assume Rhode Island probably to some degree. I don't know.
No, Rhode Island might be. I don't know. I haven't looked at a map. But so Andrew, 0 to 100.
Well, I would, and I mean, I to Brian's point, I would say that I see it happening if there's enough payout for the states. If the states are like, oh, we will get X money from this thing happening if this thing happens, and that's the way it functions. It's politics works weird when you go from the state to the federal level. Your state, you want your governor and your senators to be good about spending money and be wise about it. But when they go to the federal level, their goal is to bring as much federal funding locally as you can. You don't really care about the other guy having to foot the bill. It's human nature. It's not one political party or other. It's just the way we are. I'm going to peg, my odds at Brian's odds, the same thing, unless somebody comes up with, a very, and I would make the argument, kind of my argument that I would do about like football arenas and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. If these things can't function privately, then we shouldn't be using public money for doing this. Yeah. And if somebody can come up with a really good private model to say we can do this, and there have been, historically private toll roads. I actually had a friend whose, family, they had one for years, and up until like 20 years ago, it was a privately held toll road in like Virginia, went through part of there. I would say that if somebody can come up with a really good private model to fund it, that then would benefit the states and say, okay, this is what we got to do. The technology is people aren't going to detect us drilling underneath there. We can do it for X amount of cost. We're going to provide this benefit, and we're going to pay you X% per every car that travels through your state. Maybe. I'll give it a 20% chance.
Oh, up from 9.
Wow.
By the
way, I downgraded mine to 5, so that's
happening.
4 times bigger.
4 times as much. I'm gonna split the diff at 14 and a half.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, I agree with everything. I mean, really, at this point, here's all we know is that Elon Musk is committed to selling this because he is using his platforms to do it. And he is in a unique position as he is already launching rockets to say, I'm not just a guy. I'm not just a company. I'm the man who makes these things happen. I started burrowing under my own property to because I wanted this to move forward. I'm deeply committed to you not sitting in traffic and wherever that goes. So
That's what this felt like to me. Like there are times that both Andrew and I are pretty active, all three of us active on Twitter. There are times I feel like I got to put something out just to be putting stuff out. That's what this felt like to me.
I mean, this is
had
a bigger
conversation
thing, though.
about a thing.
I mean, like getting it. This does not happen because a bunch of reasonable people sit around a table, like a project like this.
Right.
This happens because the will of the people is there, the will of the governments are there, and there's enough money there, and you need all three to get something like that done because there are a million ways that this can explode. So it seems like he's motivated for it, and I think that needs to happen if it has any chance at all, because this is not just a white paper that gets pushed through state houses. Like, it's too ambitious.
Yeah, as mentioned in the comments, if it gets tied into the whole massive infrastructure spending thing, then yeah, the chances go up considerably. And that's the unfortunate side. You often hear the argument like, why don't we just do blank or blank? And it's one of these things where I'm all for blank or blank if the cost is minimal to the people who aren't all for this, and that's the problem is that we often embark upon these things that are actually the costs are very heavy down the road. And people say, oh, we should do blank. Space funding. We talked about that before. Like, I don't have a problem if we want to increase NASA's budget. I would just like to see a much greater accountability for it, because many of the people saying we should increase it, you start asking them what the budget is, what it's being spent for right now, what were some of the mistakes in the past, and you just get blank stares. And it's like, okay, you want a thing, but you know what the thing you want is, and you don't know what the problem is. And because we're getting emotional arguments from this. Go to the Science Museum and they have this like put a token in here if you think NASA should have an increase in budget, and everybody puts tokens in there because it's like the tokens don't cost you anything. You just put the token in there. And you just ask people like, well, should we give the same percentage of our budget that the Europeans do on their space program? And people are like, oh yeah, that sounds good. It's like, wait, think about the European space program. Oh, yeah, no, yeah, we have the most funded space program in the world. And not to say that more money to it wouldn't be a bad idea, but it's how we spend it. Same with infrastructure. Like, I'm not into like these arenas where we spend, hundreds of millions of dollars, now $1 billion to build, football stadiums.
Historically, a fairly dicey economic proposition.
Yes.
Yeah, the economics, it's bad. It just doesn't, and it's like, I have nothing against football, but it's like, it's a business. It's a business owned by billionaires. Like, let them pay for their GD Stadium.
It's a business owned by billionaires that effectively runs 8 shows a year, which, if you've looked at some of the best privately run stadiums, like the one they have in San Francisco, are, they're baseball stadiums, which are smaller, can hold concerts, and run, I'm going to get crushed for not remembering how many home games, but 80-something games a year.
Right.
Where you're just using it more. Like, it's there. For if you don't have a major pro team and a major college team, then you're effectively building a boondoggle for billionaires.
Right. Whereas the multipurpose stadiums make everybody unhappy. It's too far away for the baseball players and not great for the football players.
I mean, to be fair, with as many of the dicey propositions that San Francisco, my new home of the Bay Area, loves to give away money for literally everything. The one thing that they have been very, very stringent on is stadium money, and they've forced both the Giants and now the Warriors to build privately funded stadiums, and it's the reason why the Raiders are going to Las Vegas, because Las Vegas would pay them money and Oakland wouldn't. So
right.
Tell you what. Speaking of giving people money, everybody who enjoys this kind of conversation should head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings.
Go on.
Well, Brian, I'm glad that you prompted me, because this is the best way that you can not only support this show by giving literally whatever money you could ask for or have available. Just kick it in. We're having a great time here, and we love bringing this to you every single week, and it's because you guys continue to support us.
Heck yeah. Weird Things. Patreon.com/Weird Things.
Plus, you get early access to After Things, our sister show about creativity and being a professional, and you get that in an RSS feed, so you get access to it a day or two before anybody else.
And at no point are we trying at risk of harming individual lives. You hear that, Patreon? We're very safe.
Jeez. Oh, yeah, okay. Very topical.
Yeah.
Very timely.
We're on the up and up.
So speaking of funding and topical, one of the things that happened this week was they'd asked, and this is more SpaceX stuff. SpaceX had announced a while ago they were going to do what's called the Red Dragon program, which is the idea is to take their Dragon space capsule and send it to Mars, put one on Mars. And Musk got approached, said, hey, what's the status of that? He says, we're no longer looking to do that. And people are like, the dream is dead. It's dead. Musk is like, we think we found some. He did a whole interview, by the way. There was an interview he did with
and that guy was there the whole time. The guy was just like, dream's dead.
Dude, if you follow the SpaceX thread on Reddit, pretty much exactly that.
Just a guy in the background.
Musk is like, we think we found a much better way, a much more practical way to land things on Mars, and that's our plan going forward. And he retweeted a thing from Teslarati. SpaceX, and this is a Musk retweeted, it was an article, SpaceX skipping Red Dragon for, quote, this is Elon Musk, quote, vastly bigger ships. So what this seems to imply is instead of they had this plan like, oh, we're going to send, every Martian cycle every 2 years, we're going to be sending a SpaceX thing on a regular delivery. Sounds like they're saying, you know what, let's just go ahead and build a bigger, better rocket system to go do that. So... And he says bigger ships. And remember, he's talked about people like the IATS, it's huge. And Elon Musk like, and we envision bigger ones than that.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems like a good way to curry favor with your base while not having to show anything tangible.
Brian says Elon Musk no longer wants to go to Mars.
That's no. I'm just saying.
I don't know, man. I just heard you say that Elon Musk doesn't want to go to Mars. You better get talking.
A reliable source just said that you said that, Brian.
That you said that. So
a person familiar with the matter. I don't know. That's a bummer. I'm in general a much bigger fan of the tangible versus the promise. And great, you replacing a promise with a bigger promise that's fine. Not as big a fan of that as if replacing a promise with even a scaled down tangible version of what was promised.
Well, I think what's interesting is that we're seeing that go both ways, right? So now he's like, okay, we're going to be building a smaller ITS because we can do it more tangibly and we can do it faster. And when we go to Mars, we're going to not do it with the Falcon, with the Dragon capsule. We're going to do it with an as yet unnamed larger thing.
Let me put it this way. In an alternate reality, not this reality, I certainly wouldn't say in this reality, but in an alternate reality, there exists a Elon Musk who doesn't fulfill his dreams, or our dreams, and doesn't follow up on his promises. In that alternate reality, again, not this reality, but in that alternate reality,
it's starting to sound like that thing
canceling my Patreon subscription now.
A smart tactic would be to keep people excited with bigger promises rather than tangible deliverables. I'm going to propose an
alternate to your alternate reality. My alternate reality is that you get this very, very ambitious dreamer that sits around with some of those brilliant space engineers you can imagine, rocket scientists, if you will. And they're like, maybe we could do this. And he says, this sounds great. Runs out. Hey, guys, maybe we're thinking about doing this. And he says, maybe. And it becomes Elon Musk announces this. And then he goes back into the room and they're like, Elon, we're still working out the math on that. And he's like, oh, okay. And then they're like, all right, well, let's come up with a proposal. He says, we need something. Comes up the proposal. And then meanwhile, they learn a lot. They develop a lot. And then they say, hey, this is the thing we want to do. And they start looking into it and they realize, it might make more sense if we do this. And I think that what's happened is I think the engineering has evolved considerably. And I think that he wants a shorter timeline to make these things happen, not a longer timeline. But that is based upon the engineering we have and the money we have and the available resources. And the more you get into it, you find out, well, this might be more expensive, but this will be more practical. I look at it as encouraging news because I think the reality of us getting that interplanetary transport system is going to happen sooner, not later. I think getting that thing on Mars is going to be sooner than what we were expecting, because I think what's happening is that there is a reality there, but also nobody has spent this much money and time trying to solve these specific problems. NASA's and their contractors have tried to solve it in certain ways. SpaceX says, step one, we need reusability. That's step two, it's got to be methane. Step 1 and 2. If it's not reusable, it's not methane based, it's no-go on this. And then extending out from there. And as they've learned now, like they've have experience, the only private company ever to return a space capsule from orbit, the one of only like 3 nations to do that sort of thing. And what they've learned on heat shielding, so the heat shielding underneath the Falcon, or excuse me, the Dragon, is way advanced than anything anybody else is using. It's the most advanced heat shield there is. They know more about heat shields probably than anybody now. So I think that engineering knowledge has increased, and I think that they're trying to assess and say what's the most practical way forward, and that Brian Brushwood doesn't know what he's talking about, so just shut up.
I mean, I wouldn't accuse anything like that. No, I think I just am very sympathetic to people who feel like this sounds like a downscaling or a delay and I don't know, not calling it that. I think I would prefer not hiding behind. If you have to explain how it's even better that this timeline isn't being met, the original timeline isn't being met, then that just instantly makes me feel squirrely. I don't like it. I don't like it, and I prefer.
In general, I think that I can agree. There's an element of like, all right, wake me up when we have like momentum on this, and we're like, it's interesting to follow the planning phase, but it is less interesting than this is being worked on. We are now targeting this realistic window.
Sure.
Sure.
So we got last year, we were waiting to find out what the announcement was going to be for the next generation rocket. And then we got the September announcement, and then the wonderful questions afterwards. And Elon Musk says perhaps he'll have prepared questions this time.
Yeah.
So we had and that was almost a year ago, we got that ITS announcement. Since then, we know they tested one of their large carbon fiber tanks, and it blew up. We know that they've been spending money and doing development towards that, but we also know the Falcon 9 has had a really good track record so far this year. They're looking to do the Falcon Heavy launch later this year, which Elon Musk is very realistic on its chances of success. We'll get in 2 months, we'll get this idea of what the ITS, the current iteration that's going to be, and I think we're going to get an idea of what the cost will be, and I think we're going to get a program that Elon Musk is going to personally make sure that the first one's like, hey, NASA, somebody wants to spend. Remember, the first one happened, the first announcement was before the elections, before everything, and it's like, hey, this is a thing we want to go do, and let's see what happens. And the reaction's been mixed, and I think now we're going to get a proposal that a mere 15 billionaire could afford if he has to.
Yeah.
So I think he just wants to make sure it happens. Because there's a history in space of there's a book called The Visionaries, which talks about like Gerard O'Neill, the guy that imagined the big cylinders. And I read these articles like, oh, what if we hadn't stopped going to the moon and we kept going? What would have happened? And I'd be like, we would be bankrupt. We'd be in debt. We'd be living in Mad Max world if we kept funding it, because it was not a renewable, reusable technology. And that was the problem, is people just miss that. We don't here, and our listeners don't, but people outside miss that step, that when it cost you, the Apollo program cost $1 billion an astronaut, $1 billion an astronaut to send them to the moon.
And that cost, is that 1960s dollars, or
I can adjust it, but pretty close to like even in those dollars. I mean, it was, and so and that cost wasn't going to go down that much. And so you have to solve these other problems that people don't realize. You think about when Justin sits down to do a 1 hour one-man mic show, or Brian, or make a card game, or Brian, when you want to put out a product on scam stuff, people just see, the thing, it just exists. How hard is that?
Right. Well, and of course, what you don't see are all the failed attempts and the amount of investment that goes into it. What people, and again, everybody here understands this, but I wish the outside world understood what a strange artifact the space race was. It was a straight up military pissing contest. It was yeah, we could spend all this money on blowing up humans, or we could spend the exact same amount and just have a race to the moon.
Blowing up humans.
Instead of blowing up humans, we're blowing humans up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's why don't we go to Disney every weekend? It's so inspiring and fun. and everybody
just
has
imagine
a good
how
time.
inspired we'll be if we just win every
great,
week.
You know?
I've tried. To your point, Brian, I think that it's the danger is it's a person. Musk is somebody who wants to talk about the exciting things they're doing, but he also, these things change. The realities have changed, the economics of it change. But we're not. But remember, we weren't getting the putting the Red Dragon on Mars. Again, we don't know what he's going to say in September. We have no idea what he's going to say. But there's a planned mission next year, folks, to loop 2 people around the moon.
Yeah.
And ultimately that is going to that's going to be a big step, and we're going to see more going forward. But I don't know. And then a lot of this is also just us kind of making sweeping generalizations about the fact that Elon Musk likes to answer questions on Twitter and to reporters.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and truthfully, I'd like to think we're a little more grounded in reality, that we're not prone to flights of fancy, where we just make it up as we go along.
Not at all, Brian. It's not at all a hallmark or something we'd ever be known for.
No, not at all.
Nothing.
So
Very
what's
realistic.
next?
Not at all. Bryce, do you have some video for us? Because I'll tell you what's next. What's coming up next. It could be right next here.
It's the next thing.
It's the next
The
thing.
next thing
next big
on the
thing.
following the thing.
Yeah.
Do you want to say the name of it? Because the guy doesn't say the name of it necessarily.
Is it Journey Quest?
It is. Let's find out what happened last time.
Previously on
Journey Quest!
Ugg is basically kind of like Polo with dinosaurs. Like, he is the one. He is the chosen one.
slow rotation of your hips. Just swivel your hips. All right. So are you ready?
Get on my back, Brian.
Yeah!
Now.
Surely you have a plan, right?
Oh, I have a plan, Brian. I have a plan.
Hot damn, man. In what is easily my all-time favorite episode of Journey Quest, I seduced a T-Rex, and I put my hand on her purring place and made her happy. I hopped on the little saddle on the back, and I'm driving a danged T-Rex to escape from the middle of a game of Ugg so I can go rescue my friend who's out there trapped in the wilderness with slow-molesting sloths and raping spiders. Also, I have a chainsaw on my right hand.
So, meanwhile, Justin
Yeah.
was what were you doing? You were fleeing the. Did you go into the cave?
I'm in the cave and the door has closed, and now the sloth bro is not responding to me, as I assume his
intentions are to continue to slowly molest you.
well, he's not yet begun, but I'm going to begin my action by running toward where the door is at full speed and looking to
Hold on, Justin.
God damn it.
Where are you going?
These little
That
stage
door's
directions.
locked anyway.
I try to find where the voice is coming from, and I start spin kicking in that direction. And I just say, "Turn on the light, you creep!"
Hang on, bro.
Spin kick, spin kick,
You,
spin kick.
you start hearing Dave Matthews Band playing at half speed on the record player. Bum, bum, bum.
I definitely go to where the Dave Matthews is coming from, and I spin kick that, ending the Dave Matthews.
Whoa, it's a party.
Turn
now.
on the lights, you creep!
Come on, man.
I try to go to the door, and I try to spin kick it. What happens, Andrew?
It's rock. It's not moving.
you see the sparks of two rocks lighting a candle in a corner, and then it gets lit, and then you see a slow figure walking away to light another candle.
I mean, all right. Like, it's at
You
least
see
like
some massage oils.
okay. I look for another. So there's no way to get out. I'm
You might
totally
go
sealed
deeper
in.
into the cave.
What?
Might be able to go deeper.
All right, again, I just want to. I mean, if I might make a meta protest,
Hey, man, you could do anything. Come on, let's wrestle.
can I see the sloth now with the candle lights?
You see an outline of the sloth.
I spin kick it.
Remember, he's a giant sloth. He's a giant.
Oh, that tickles.
Oh my god.
Oh, you.
I move away. I move away
Oh.
from the slow grasp.
Slow grasp just grabs air. Let's just
I run
play.
I run futilely into the rock door over and over and over again, not trusting the fact that it is totally solid.
Some Genesis golf.
You
And he
trip,
gestures.
Oh no.
and there's a bunch of
tripped.
magazines on the ground.
What are the magazines?
Wee magazines.
Oh god. you and
FHM?
we.
Wrapped around 1950s wrestling and bodybuilding magazines.
Oh my god. All right, so I look around the cave. I can't get out the way I came, but
You know what? I was wrong. I don't have Genesis Golf. This is just Altered Beast. And you hear, rise from your grave. And it's like, got another controller.
I spin kick the controller.
He starts laughing. Ha ha, that's great. Here, let me do it too. He lifts a leg and moves it towards the controller.
So-
It gets
so-
closer, agonizingly close, and finally connects with the controller, barely moving it off the couch
Okay.
and onto the floor.
What are my movement options, my escape options, Andrew?
You might be able to go further back into the cave. There might be more back there.
More good times back there.
What's back there, Sloth?
Your future.
Okay.
Come with me. And he puts his arm around your
I
back.
avoid the arm. I spin kick his hand.
Oh, man. That tickles.
So you're saying I have no options, just so we're clear. I have now tried
The
desperately.
cave might go on and on. The cave might go deeper. There might be more back there.
Just so we are clear that I have not I'm not making this choice.
This game's too fast.
You have a lot of choices. You could play video games with the sloth. You could keep playing this, this koi, although you seem to be leading the sloth on, to be honest with you. You could go explore the cave further. Maybe there's more back there.
All right. I said, yeah, no, make some pizza rolls. In fact, I need 400 pizza rolls.
Oh, I only have 5.
Well, make all 5 of them, but cook them
100
500. That's
pizza
fine.
rolls.
Make all 500, please.
That'll be most of my pizza rolls.
Please cook all the pizza rolls
now.
right now.
Okay.
The sloth begins to move to cook the pizza rolls, and I descend into the cave further.
It's all right. It's going through a dark passage, and you look.
Oh, I
behind
grab
you,
one of
you
the
can
candles. I grab one of the candles, so I have light.
Grab one of the candles. You could grab one of the Wii magazines too and make a torch.
Sure, I grab one of the Wii magazines and I light the Wii magazine, as well as the 1992 April edition of Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Well, actually, it was like 1954 Physical Culture.
Okay, sure. All right, sloth.
Hey, my tales of manliness.
Hey, pizza rolls.
Come back, Justin.
I'll be right back. I just need to get ready for pizza rolls.
But down that path lays only.
So as you walk further down in the cavern, you come across some carved steps.
Okay, wait. I walk across what?
There's some carved steps that seem to descend lower.
All right, I'm walking through the carved steps.
And you walk down to the end of the carved steps. You smell water.
Okay.
And there's a dock, and there's a little boat there and a paddle.
All right.
You just stare at it.
I inspect the boat for seaworthiness.
It looks pretty. It's a little old, but it looks like it might last you.
So just a rowboat.
And you hear at the top of the stairs, Justin. I microwaved the pizza rolls. They're ready.
all 500.
Yeah. Then he flips I'm looking for a light switch. He's trying to find a light switch.
Wait, he has electricity.
I mean, whether he has one or not, he thinks he does.
All right.
Know.
I say.
He has a microwave. Wait, you're not amazed that he has a microwave, but you are amazed that he has lights?
I thought it was hand in hand, but sure.
Okay, sure. Or pizza rolls or a Genesis.
Yeah. I say, oh crap! Wait, you microwaved them? I can't eat that. I need them cooked with one by one on the flame.
Oh, that would be unsafe.
So bye. I get in the boat and I start paddling away.
Start paddling, right? And you see a sign, and you see it's hard to see because it's like almost dimly lit, but you still got your Wii magazine that's on fire, and you hold it up close to the sign, and there's carved into the sign, and as you're about to read it, you hear the sloth yell, "Oh no, don't go there. That's the cave of self-loathing."
Well, all right.
Yeah, sounds like I'm home.
Sounds like is the role I was born to play.
No. The next sign says, beware, further you go into here, the worse it gets.
Well, one thing I've learned in this game is the only way to play is to get worse. So I am undeterred. I do not want to get raped by that sloth.
No, only molested.
The boat comes to a stop, you get off, and then in front of you there are 10 different passageways. 10 different passageways, but there's something very peculiar about them. It's almost like they're shimmering. They're shimmering. And a voice tells you, through each passageway leads to a memory of self-loathing.
Which one do you take?
Wait, okay. So it's like a Disney like voiceover.
Yeah, it actually, strangely, it is. It's like the Disney announcer.
In fact, Dame Judi Dench is narrating it.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Dame Judi Dench. Welcome to the Cave of Self-Loathing, presented by Visa.
Since the dawn of time, humanity has regretted the dawn of time.
All right, I go to the furthest left.
Oh.
You go to the furthest left.
Yeah.
And what you find there is you step into there, it gets sort of cloudy. It's like this green smoke. And you feel a little bit woozy, okay? And you're still trying to stay awake, trying to stay alert. Then all of a sudden things become a little bit clearer, and you hear a voice come from overhead. It says, "Welcome to the Cave of Self-Loathing. You have made a choice here."
It says, today is the day you met Brian Brushwood. Brought to you by Siemens. Thanks to an amazing future, in the year 2008, you will meet Brian Brushwood. The two of you will do something called the BB Live Show, and everything will be great. ... Or will it?
Yeah, man, old news. I keep on.
It repeats the message. The year is 2008. It keeps on going. You paddle through?
Yeah, paddle
through. Sure, man. Am I just gonna chronicle your whole podcasting career? let's just assume it keeps going. It keeps describing everything.
All right. Do I reach the end?
But mainly with like a weird emphasis on your podcasting relationship with Brian Brushwood. It keeps going back to every moment that like you didn't back Brian's play,
sure,
or you didn't support him, or you second guessed him, or the time you laughed when he lost his hand.
Yeah. Yeah, he deserved all that. Yeah, I feel literally no regret. I keep paddling. Like I'm not even breaking stride. Like I'm not even waiting for it to get to the end of the narration. Like I'm just moving along.
All right. At some point, you start hearing it's clearly not the pre-recorded message, but instead you hear like a technician saying, "Please stop going so fast." Please,
Wait, am I disrupting the flow of the Caves of Self-Loathing ride?
yeah,
Who are you?
I'm Ted.
Hi, Ted.
I listen. It'd be real helpful if you listen to the whole thing. We're almost to the part where Brian like gives you $20 and you never paid it back.
Okay, can we just like do me a favor, man? Just I'm either gonna be just like a crew style trying to burn through this as fast as possible, or you can just go ahead and give me the TLDR on this cave.
I'm not really supposed to let
Ted,
people.
come on, Ted.
Yeah.
You're breaking my balls, Ted. Come
Okay,
on.
okay, do you have $20?
Sure.
Wait.
I got it from Brian Brushwood.
You never paid him back.
Never paid him back.
See, that's how terrible you are.
Now,
Oh.
as you're talking, yelling at the narrator overhead, you notice off on there's sort of a walkway along the line of the cavern. You notice some people off to the side, kind of dressed in rags, kind of like when you walked into the village, running away from somewhere.
I say,
And
hey.
overhead, you hear this. Sounds like a crowd noise or whatever.
Oh, I go toward the crowd noise.
I think
But it's above you. It's above
Yeah.
you.
It's above
Like
me.
you're underneath
Okay.
You hear the echoes.
And you hear thump, 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 thump. And you look to where the people were running from, and you see what looks like an explosive device attached to a column.
Okay.
Sir, are you still there? Are you still there?
Yeah, hey, Ted. I think I'm watching a terrorist attack in progress.
Okay, look, only one of us is allowed to improvise, sir, and I'm afraid it's not you. Only me. I'm
No,
the one in charge. You
literally,
can't
hey, Ted, for real?
Look,
Ted,
when I took
Ted,
this job, I was
Ted,
told
Ted,
that I would have control
Ted.
over one thing.
So I just saw somebody plant an explosive device in your cave. And
ready for some UGG?
I think that there is a game called UGG that I escaped from happening above your ride.
Look,
and
man,
somebody,
it's bad enough that they had to work on UGG Day, but now you're going to rub it in my face.
No,
I
for
don't
real.
get paid. I don't get paid enough for this. I know that I'm missing UGG.
Ted.
Everybody's talking about it.
Wait, what happens if I start drowning?
Well,
Do you have to come down here and save me?
I mean, we have safeguards in place.
I jump off the boat and I'm like, I can't swim. I can't
It's
swim.
2 feet of water.
Yeah. Ted points out that there's 2 feet of water.
I lay down. I can't swim.
We're like, all right, sir, I'm going to have to increase the water flow and just usher you off. So Ted cranks up the water flow.
Ted, you need to get down. Yes, no, fill the cave. Fill the cave with water so it can wash away this explosive device.
Will you get back in the boat then?
Sure, yes.
Okay, all right.
Just, we need to get
Okay,
this
same
explosive device.
time. I'm going to start filling it up. Let me see. I need to see you getting into that boat.
I get into the boat.
Okay, all right, and then cranks up, and then just sort of stops at around 4 feet.
Ted,
Yeah.
we're both gonna die if you don't get this goddamn explosive device.
Okay, look,
out
I
of
don't
here.
need your threats. Everybody, it's UGG
no.
Day.
Do you I get out of the boat and I go toward the explosive device that the people were running away from.
Oh, okay. Hey, where are you going, Justin?
I'm trying to get this. You are an incompetent POS, Ted. I really think you have no idea how much you're gonna hear to your manager about the fact that you.
Listen, man, look, it's bad enough I miss an UGG Day. I don't want to get it written up as well. This is
Well, then
bad
you
news.
get down here right now.
All right,
Right now.
Let me check with my supervisor, and then Ted clicks off as Brian asks Andrew what happens next.
Supervisor, what's the problem?
Right, got a guy claim.
Security class is the best thing ever. We now swing to a middle management disagreement at an amusement park.
Listen, I got this guy. He went to the, he's halfway through the Cave of Regrets or Self-Loathing, and he keeps claiming that there's a bomb there. We don't have a bomb simulation. We ran this on Thursday, and at no point in his entire, we ran the background check.
Whoa. Let me get the manual.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm continuing to walk toward the explosive device just to check it out.
And also, as long as we're chatting, I don't think it's UGG Day. Of all the days, we can't shut down for. It's not like there's anybody going to be here except for this outsider.
I don't write the rules, all right? I understand that. I don't want to be here for UGG Day. You don't want to be here for UGG Day. And frankly, I'd ask to not have your shift. But we don't get what we want, all right?
All right,
So-
fine. Look, what are we going to do? He's almost up to this bomb. Oh, you know what? Now that I look
Well, you
at it,
haven't spoken to him. That's the key thing, right? Because we got to maintain the illusion of what's going on here, right?
I mean,
Never speak to guests. Okay.
Sure.
Bomb threat. Bomb threat. Bomb
Yeah, you
threat.
get fired
Okay.
if you talk to me.
Bomb threat.
But-
Got it
well,
right here.
Okay, well, it's less of a threat. I'm actually, you know what? He did have a point. I'm looking at the bomb right now on security camera 5. If you take a look right over there, that's definitely it's got the buttons and the
Hold on.
wires and the
Let me
dynamite.
punch it up. All right. Okay. Yeah. That looks different than what we had in inventory. Let me check this.
Well, yeah, I suspect it's not from inventory. You know, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but I think Justin might be onto something on this one. Listen, what
Wait,
say
what's Justin again?
customer 275 1D?
Hold on. Let me type this in.
I continue to make my way to the bomb.
Okay, he should be right now making sweet love with a sloth.
Yeah, I agree. I'm doing my best to get. You know what? Let me just give him a little. I'm going to go down there and give him a little push. Just kind of move him on down the road. Sound good?
Yeah, get him back into the sloth because we have a whole nother thing planned for him next.
God, okay, great. Ted walks downstairs, comes in, and
I spin kick him.
Wait. Hey, come back here, employee 24521.
Unconscious Ted lays there, motionless.
Yeah. Oh, employee 25241.
Yes, it's me, employee 25441.
Not the one I asked for, but that's fine. Whoever's closest.
Yep.
Whatever you do. I have a note here. We're not supposed to directly engage with the guest. The
Yeah.
guest is on track here for like a full, complete simulation.
When is he set to exit?
It's open ended here, so
Huh.
it's either like death or run out of money, or whenever he decides to end it.
But I don't know. He seems. I'm taking a look at him now. I'm back in my office.
Hey, Justin, are you down here?
I'm looking at it right now. It seems as if he's pretty agitated to leave. If he wanted to get out immediately, what would be the protocol on that?
Justin.
Oh well, I mean, like if they'd have to say the safe word.
Sure, yeah. Just in case.
Burning Wii magazine.
Just in case I'm doubled up on it. Hey, one employee to another. I don't always keep up on the safe word. What is that customer's safe word?
Actually, it's a safe phrase. Here,
Uh-huh.
let me check this out here, just because.
Yeah, if you could just punch that up for me.
Justin,
Hold on, let me just punch this up.
Smoking weed, that's not what they mean.
Actually, it's a safe phrase that has to be said in a certain way. It has to be yelled. It's I want some sweet sloth love.
Justin, how are you feeling, buddy? I'm almost caught up to you now.
I grab the bomb and I throw it in the water, and then I scream at the top of my lungs, "You're talking to the customer! I want some sweet sloth love! I want some sweet sloth love!"
I knew it.
All right, take me a couple minutes here. I'm going to drain the water, which, of course, if there's anything in pursuit of you, it'll make it easier for them to catch up with you. And once I've drained the water, I'll be able to open up the security door.
Hard to get and give you that sweet sloth love through all this water.
And that voice is getting louder. It's getting a lot louder.
But where's the exit or where's the security door for when you where you
Well,
release?
it's in front of you, but I got to open it. There's procedures
Okay,
I got to follow.
go,
okay?
go,
see
do it.
you, buddy.
Okay.
I see you.
Dude,
I'll
gonna
be
get
down
spin
in
kicked.
12 minutes with a survey I need you to fill out before
Come
you can
here,
do your park
big
exit.
guy.
Yeah, it's fine. Where? I'll fill out the survey. Where is it?
Well, I'm going to come to you. I've
Bring
got to
the
escort
trank
you off
gun
the
for this
premises.
sloth.
It's like Dave Matthews always says.
Just don't worry, sloth genitalia. It's very, very small. Very, very small.
Shut up.
Come
And all of a
here.
sudden, in front of you, the door starts to open, starts to raise up. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches,
Hey,
inches.
buddy.
6 inches.
I begin to crawl on all fours, taking the gamble that putting my butt toward the sloth will allow me to get out of the
And
door
the
as fast as
Doors
possible.
stops moving.
Oh no!
Let me grab those ankles. Come here, you.
Next time on Journey Quest.
No! No! I don't have the leverage to spin kick.
Your one weakness.
Gentlemen, do you have time for let's do some picks?
Yeah, man. You know what? I'm going to double down on something we talked about before. We watched more episodes yesterday, but I'm going to say Preacher, Preacher, Preacher. It's the creature feature of the Preacher. It's way, way good.
Yeah, it really is a great genre show that is consistently buoyed by the fact that the acting punches above its weight. I think that there's a version of this show that is plotted and even probably shot the way it is, which is really, really good. It very much is a great companion to Legion, where Legion is very adventurous but is far more sci-fi. This is far more suspense horror.
Grindhousey.
And grindhousey. But just that cast. So fun, so engaging. And,
and especially being ignorant of where it goes in the comic books, the triangle, the love triangle that they're crafting and beginning to explore. I assume there's going to be a constant ebb and flow of power and desire between the three main principles, and also, spoiler alert, just watching a dude chilling out with Adolf Hitler. Pretty funny stuff. It's amazing.
It's one of those shows that seems to consistently ask itself, how could this be the best version of this scene, even if it's insane?
Right.
Right.
Well, and they use those visual cues that set your brain to, they take advantage of associations that you don't even know that you have. For example, when they're driving, depending on whether it's the mood of the conversation being had, like they will intentionally poorly key the green screen in certain bits just to get you in a mindset of like, okay, well, this is a garbage flight of whimsy. Who cares, right? I'm not really judging it. And then other times it'll become very visceral and very real because it wants to punch you in the visceral guts.
Yeah. So I will double down on that, but also take Andrew's recommendation from was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I watched the first half of the Glow documentary. This is the documentary about the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, for which the fictional show is now airing on Netflix. But it's a great little low budget doc about this very, very fun, weird curiosity that in many ways connects directly to some of the archetypes that you see on the popular Netflix show, and in other ways kind of shows you a little bit more about where entertainment was at that time, and specifically just what happens when you give a bunch of hungry, talented young actresses and athletes who were kind of just short for things to do in Hollywood. What happens when you give them just a bunch of success,
bandwidth,
and a national platform? So I've yet to watch the rest of it, but I'm going to download it for the plane.
My pick is it's a repeat pick, but I don't know if you guys saw the Stranger Things 2 trailer.
Yeah.
I did not. I'm actually conflicted about whether or not I'm going to watch it because I already know that I'm going to love it, right? And I think I'd rather love it not knowing anything.
Will you really love it? There's some difference of opinion.
Wait, really?
About whether you will love it or really love it.
Oh, got it.
So I watched that, and I'm like, you know what? I've been meaning to watch Stranger Things again, and we're watching the trailer right now. You should stop that so Brian doesn't see that.
Too late. I'm all in. I'm watching it.
I'm saying after this, let's watch it together.
Yeah, sure.
It together. I went back to go watch, Stranger Things, and just to watch. I watched this weekend. I watched all 8 episodes, and I remembered, like, man, yeah, that's right. There are only 8 episodes. I loved the economy of that, and that what I loved about the show that frustrates me about so many other shows, Westworld, is how long it takes for things to happen, that you're waiting for them to happen. And I liked that Stranger Things, 8 episodes, 8 hours, and it moves. I'm like, because I remember being like 2 episodes in, I feel like I'm 4 episodes in on another show.
Yeah. Well, mainly because the pacing is written. It's not a TV series so much as it feels like just a long movie, like not even like mini series kind of pacing. Like it feels like movie pacing the entire way through.
Except for the fact that this, I think that where Andrew, is partly illustrating is that some things that in another show they would drag out for an entire season, or half a season or a 4-episode arc. Like, let's say, spoiler alert on season 1 of Stranger Things, but the discovery of Will's body. That's something that shows up, is dealt with. The people that you believe aren't going to buy it, don't buy it immediately, and we get a resolution on it fairly quickly. Right? Like, it's
in another show, we would have to meet the guy that made it. You know, and
yes.
We in movie prop, we'd spend half of in an A/B type plot structure. We'd spend half of an episode tracking this guy down who made it, who dies, and we find him makes props. We'd find the mold. We'd find all this stuff. We get a much bigger explanation on that, which I don't think would make for a better show. I think it would be still a good show, but it wouldn't be as in watching this, going like, why they had their presentation at Comic-Con, and they said, and the reaction I've read, secondhand is, it's as big of a reaction or bigger than Game of Thrones got. The trailer had more views than the Game of Thrones trailer, which, again, I'm very thrilled with Game of Thrones, not putting it versus that. The enthusiasm from the people attending the Stranger Things was on par with, the biggest Marvel release. The people who loved the show. Now, granted, it's a niche within a Netflix niche, so, we often make the mistake of assuming everybody knows what this thing is, but that's not the case. But for those that do, it's pretty effing awesome. And I'm like, man, like, you watch from the first 6 minutes, you love these kids.
Yeah.
Because you're like, they're friends. They have their code. They have their games. They have their little relatability. They have their own little structure. And, and then it just builds off of that from so many places. People try to say, oh, you should watch this show. It's like Stranger Things. Like, oh, it's about like 3 12-year-old kids with a really cool friendship trying to understand adulthood. Well, no, but it's got, conspiracies and stuff. And it's like, that part's great, but that's not, to me, what made the show so wonderful.
And people are saying in the chat room, and I can co-sign on this, Mikey Newman of Movies with Mikey just did a big deep dive on Stranger Things, which is also good in terms of exploring a lot of the fun storytelling stuff. And really something that I liked about the trailer is that even when I think David Harbour and Winona Ryder have rightfully been praised for their performances. The trailer's all about the kids, and that's really that's what the show is. It is about these kids, and they also didn't do a thing like another big movie that debuted a trailer at Comic-Con where a character that is dead in a previous incarnation of the story, they're going to keep teasing apparently forever until the movie comes out that Superman's going to be in the Justice League movie. Whereas at least, obviously we had the tease with 11 at the end of Stranger Things that like
that she's keeping it alive.
Yes,
wherever.
The most popular character of our show will be coming back.
Yeah.
We're not going to pretend that this, I don't know. Will she be here? We'll see.
Right.
Yeah, and Variety running an article about Justice League talking about they have to. You read this?
No.
Because they're massive reshoots for Justice League. I mean, it was perfect. Don't get me wrong. It was perfect. But they want to make it perfect plus.
It was so much fun to do the first time. They just wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
And try to navigate all of the, production schedules. So Cahill, the new Superman, apparently is doing Mission Impossible. The next one, he's got a mustache.
Oh. Are they CGing out a mustache?
They are CGing out the mustache on Superman.
Oh, my God.
I'm sure that'll go
Paramount's
great.
like, nope, he ain't shaving that.
That's amazing. Okay, let's save the rest. I want to gossip more about all the Comic-Con stuff. That feels more like after things, right?
Yeah. Stranger Things, go back, watch it. I really enjoyed it. It's only 8 episodes and loved it.
Yeah,
Again.
fantastic.
It's been weird. All right.
Has it? Is it really weird to have a Sega
let my
Genesis
AC
playing
run from
slow
home.
motion sloth trying to grab you to give you some bro hugs and pizza rolls while you try to defuse a bomb and gets caught up in a bunch of technical hoo-has with bureaucracy straight out of Terry Gilliam's in Brazil? Is it weird? Is that weird enough?
That might have
Meanwhile,
been-
you hear the thumping overhead of somebody riding a Tyrannosaurus with a chainsaw on his hand.
That might have been the best Journey Quest episode of all time. That was great. All right, I'm going to use the bed.
Yeah, no, I'll swap out with you in a bit, but it's like I'm digging in Journey Quest that lately, when we have these split adventures, Andrew will just hand and it's like hand a role to one of us, and you don't have total autonomy because he's of course the god of Journey Quest, but within this certain realm you feel like you've got room to move the story forward per his little notes. It's I don't know, I'm enjoying it. It's been a good round of episodes. What say you guys? Is Journey Quest the last 5 episodes compared to in the great range of it, have they been among the better or the not so better?
Yeah, it's been good. We didn't get to plug Action News Game, but everyone already knows about actionnewsgame.com.
Everybody knows about actionnewsgame.com. In fact, let's dive in. Let's check in. I think last I checked, they were creeping up on 45K.
Yeah,
triple funded.
I think they got about a week left from
Yeah,
today.
9 days to go. And they're just shy of 45,000. They're at 43,002.
835 backers. I wonder what cards are the Supreme Court it ends the presidential election at
Oh,
835.
that was the
So
latest unlock.
they-
That's the
they just
Florida
did that one,
decision.
yeah. So I wonder if they're going to
Bush v. Gore.
Bush v. Gore, that's right. Yeah. Very cool. Very, very cool.
All right, here. I'm going to rotate out.
All right.
That moment that Ted calls the supervisor, and then his supervisor shows up who needs to consult the manual.
Still at work. There should be Daily Dot shot a video, but I'll post a video in the chat that goes step by step through the gameplay.
Yeah, you put one on your YouTube channel
Yeah.
last week or so?
Yeah. It gives you a basic idea. There still are more things to it, but just so people get the general gist.
Yeah. Krubik says, Should chair looks like a retractable luggage handle. It basically is.
Wait, what's that?
Brian's chair looks like
Yeah, it is.
a luggage handle. By the way, shirts. Did you see the shirts, Justin?
Yes, I have. I am excited to pick me up one.
Yeah.
How is my signal coming through?
It's actually really good.
It's pretty good today.
All right.
A
You
couple
guys
of,
are like blurry to me.
we are? We got a couple of small hiccups from you, but nothing bad or nothing too bad. So I was saying I was watching The Last Ship the past week or so,
Yeah.
and now the guys are doing Firefly for Cord Killers.
Uh-huh.
And I was watching the train job episode for today's episode, and I realized, oh, I just went from a show where Alec Baldwin is the second-ish in command to a show where Alec Baldwin is the second-ish in command. On
Oh,
the
is
ship.
he on?
Adam Baldwin?
No, yeah, Adam Baldwin.
Adam, not Alec Baldwin. Yeah, he's Jane, and he's the XO on Last Ship.
Oh. Yeah, man, that guy gets work.
Yeah. I didn't even recognize him in The Last Ship until I
When
saw
he's
it
not-
in the episode, in the credits.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a Baldwin in this?
Well, he's not a real Baldwin, right?
Is
No.
he?
No.
Oh.
He's different. He's a separate group of Baldwin.
Oh, wow. This is, oh, it's, I typed in Alec Baldwin again. These are very common problems that people have.
All right, beautiful people. I'm ready. At your leisure. At your ledge.
All right. Turn the music down. Guys ready to do this?
Yo.
You.
All right. Take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to After Things, the show where I promise you no giant molesting sloths are going to try to share their amorous affections with Justin. Unless the listeners really want that. I'm Andrew Main, joined by
Spin Kick.
Spin Kick, sloth survivor Justin Robert Young, and Brian, totally not a sloth, Brushwood.
Yo.
No, that's my given name, man.
So a lot of things going on, a lot of things in pop culture. We had Comic-Con just happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this kind of like, if you were a nerd in the 1980s, now your nerddom in 1980s is pop culture for 2017.
Yes.
I watched the Stranger Things trailer, and I'm like, I literally dressed up as a Ghostbuster for Halloween. I'm like, I made my own proton pack. I literally did that, but not with my other cool friends. And so the Stranger Things 2 trailer dropped. We got a lot of stuff came out. The new Thor trailer came out, new Justice League, new announcements. Guy who produces Legion is going to be doing a Doctor Doom. Do we want to watch the Stranger Things 2 trailer?
Yeah, I don't know if should we just play the audio, make that part of the podcast, or jump back from it?
Let's do that. Roll it back. Yeah, back it up. Back that up.
Back it on up like a U-Haul truck.
All right, here we go. We're watching the Stranger Things trailer.
We gotta do this? Let's engage.
And that was $1 down the drain.
Don Bluth's Dragon's Lair. Ooh.
Hey guys, do you see the... Will, are you okay?
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Nothing's gonna go back to the way that it was. Not really.
I saw something. What is it? I don't know. I felt it everywhere.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize y'all's neighborhood. And whosoever shall be found
Sometimes I feel like I still see her.
must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell.
Whatever is happening is spreading from this place.
What does it want? Not me. Everyone else. Wake up! If you're out there, just please give me a sign.
I don't see why he's laughing. That wasn't very funny. I was scared for that little girl.
Yeah, I was very terrified for that little girl. That was very cruel.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Yeah, I think it's a show that gets it. Obviously, you can you wouldn't be faulted for kind of just worrying about any kind of season 2 for a show that was so kind of expertly crafted in a season 1 and escalating the stakes in a story about a ragtag bunch of kids. I think can sometimes sort of stretch the edges of the intimacy that I think made the first one so cool, but I'm pumped. I'm excited to see them tackle all those problems.
Yeah, it certainly helps that one of the stars of the show is the romanticized version of 1984 that it takes place in. That there are so many familiar geek culture stuff. And yes, to those who notice specifics, there are some that stretch credulity. For example, The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing was a bomb at the time, so it's very unlikely anyone would have The Thing poster at the time.
If
but,
you're a geek kid, I was into The Thing.
Okay. There's somebody who broke down the possible, not possible, and that ended up in the not possible bin, if I remember correctly. But I probably am half remembering it anyway. But
It's been watched with Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's fine.
But that's my point. Is that they do? That's why I say it's a romanticized version of it, because it hits us in the feels where we want most to experience that.
Yeah, I just, and I'm curious, I've not seen that breakdown, whatever, but like, I'm from that time period, and like, I hung out with like the hyper nerdiest kids you can imagine. Shocking, I know, people. It's hard to believe, and I kids who read Starlog magazine, kids who collected posters, kids who did all
Fangoria.
the things. What's that?
Fangoria magazine.
Oh yeah, Fangoria. Kids who they were into. I mean, like that. It's like, oh yeah, I remember my buddies doing their D&D campaigns in the basements and stuff, and that, like, I don't know, like, was a Thing poster possible? I mean, again, like, to me, it's also kind of, well, this is a movie trying to say, hey, let's make allusions to things that came before, or horror or stuff like that. But,
Sure.
And also sometimes to me it's like, and again, haven't seen what you saw, but it's like, man, when it gets to that level, sometimes I feel like people are missing. It's like, everything that's the wrong with.
Yeah, and beyond that, I think what's cool about Stranger Things is that it's not a show about the references. Like, it's not a show where that's the point of it. That's the window dressing, right? And I think that's going to stand out in a trailer where you're only getting out of context clips. But what made that show special is, like Andrew said, this very Spielbergian sort of tale and Stephen King kind of tale of kids coming together and figuring things out. Some with the cooperation and non-cooperation of adults, and wrapping that in all the rad horror trappings.
Right.
I had a friend that had an Empire Strikes Back one sheet a year before the movie came out, because his mom was sleeping with the guy who was going to the Show West whatever movie theaters thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I guarantee if I wrote in a book like his Empire Strikes Back poster hung on the wall in 1979, people are like, oh, wrong, fail. I'm like, well, no, actually that was true. You
got it from the Show West show. Do I have to describe what she had to do for it?
This woman.
So how much how dialed in are you during San Diego Comic-Con? Like, are you watching every trailer the moment it comes out, or do you parse your do you temper your excitement? Do you go down there and poke around?
I don't. I don't. I've gone before, but it's too much of a zoo. I prefer to watch it remotely, and I don't. I was more like, I just follow a couple news feeds and stuff came up, but I don't try to seek out so much like spoilers or stuff or anything anymore, because it's like, spoilers were neat when there was so little stuff out there to watch and you wanted to watch. Our trailers were neat when you wanted. That's the only superhero movie you're going to get in 1 year, so I'm going to watch the trailer and everything. But when I'm going to get 4 superhero movies in a year, I don't need to watch. I mean, I watched the Thor trailer because, cool, the last trailer was great. I'll watch this one, but I don't need these things.
What did you think of this trailer for Thor Ragnarok versus the last one?
Well, I think your comment, Thor, as Guardians of the Galaxy is on the mark, but great. I mean, to me, it's like so much of Marvel was this cosmic kind of thing, and I've made the argument before that the most pivotal movie I think in the whole Marvel MCU was Thor, because Thor was the movie that had to introduce magic, gods, aliens, space, and all this other stuff. Where the first Iron Man, it's like, it's a guy who builds a mechanical suit.
Right.
Like, okay.
Yeah. He's funny Batman.
Right.
Look.
Yeah. Thor was the movie. It's going to be like, well, there are gods and there are aliens that look like us and all that. And so Thor laid the groundwork that made Guardians possible and everything else possible. So Thor was our first really super big cosmic Marvel movie. And that trailer, I loved it. I'm like, it's everything I was hoping for. And having, Taika as a director on that, I think so far.
Yeah, I just love them unleashing the full Hemsworth. Like, just letting him carry it as a comedic lead as opposed to a heartthrob, and not to say they didn't have his funny moments in the first two.
Sure, but they were almost always fish out of water. Whatever.
Well, yeah, or they were context dependent and
right.
And here it's just like, no, we're just gonna let Chris Hemsworth just like say funny lines and be kind of this, just him, that initial conversation with the Hulk of like, well, what have I done since I last saw you? My hammer got destroyed, so that happened yesterday.
Yeah,
still fresh.
Yeah,
and he's kind of got that Channing Tatum, very self-aware, you know, of, all right, I'm the himbo,
right,
and so I'll play the himbo really well. Himbo isn't necessarily dumb, but self-awareness is a little bit different, and
I also enjoyed seeing in the entire cinematic and I think television history as well, outside of maybe some cartoons that I haven't seen, the most verbose version of the Hulk that we've ever seen.
Finally.
Which I've been waiting for. I'm excited about.
I suspect, I mean, that is a part of Planet Hulk, which this draws from. And I would not be shocked if we see some character-based or story-based reasoning why he goes from Hulk smash to Hulk makes conversation.
Yeah. Well, in the comic books, depending, it went through various iterations, but I remember there was this hot minute where it was this constant in-brain battle. Like, there'd be entire thirds of comic books that are just about the discussions between Hulk and Banner inside his mind, where he keeps one locked in a closet and then the other one gets the upper hand.
Planet Hulk, which is basically Conan, but with the Hulk on an alien planet,
right?
The whole thing takes place with Banner just living as a voice in his head that he consults every once in a while.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
There, Mr. Fix-It Hulk and all the different iterations of that. So yeah, I'm enthusiastic. So I'm going to ask you guys a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched Stranger Things 2. I'm like, great. I love that these kids are immersed in this nostalgia. I like this. I watch Ready Player One and I have the complete opposite reaction. So and I know that's an Andrew thing.
So the Ready Player One trailer I thought was ultimately very smart, because what it wound up doing for the next 2 days is setting, all the people that were obsessives to figure out every car outline and every shadow shape to pull out every little bit of kind of little representative nostalgia bits. I thought it was more reserved than I initially thought it was going to be with that much IP. I thought they were going to give even more close-up slow motion hero shots to their big.
Well, in that regard, I mean, really, keep in mind this was a teaser, not a full trailer. Because if you haven't read the book, if you're not familiar with the story, then there's very little here for you to latch onto as far as what it's going to be. But really, this was a 2-part press release. Part 1. This is the level of production that you can expect from this movie. It will be executed to the level of this visual quality, which will be a lot of fun. Number 2, the other press release, the dog whistle, this is the level of IP integration that you can see. And I'm sure there's still even more stuff being worked out behind the scenes that they're trying to work out, cross promo deals. Some of it is in-house stuff that they subbed out for, DreamWorks properties, or is it a Warner Brothers movie? Is that whatever it is. But then you have wild cards like the Akira bike, and that's one of the things that, now, given that is the alpha and the omega. That's all this thing was designed to do, and I think it did that very, very well. It didn't do a lot in terms of storytelling, but it did do a lot in terms of at least explaining the world building. But more importantly, they did so in a format that essentially makes the entire teaser trailer an Easter egg hunt. So people are poring over it frame by frame to try to find and identify, which is very much in the spirit of the story. So in that regards, I feel like for the games they were trying to play, they absolutely hit. Now, as to your frustration, Andrew, I totally understand. It's like there's not a lot to follow in there.
It's a book I tried to read and I couldn't get into because it was a I know what it is thing, and I'm like, this just so felt it wasn't for me. It was so thin. But it's the thing, like, I'm glad that people like it, and it's not like, oh, you guys suck for it's not. I'm not that at all. I'm glad that people like it, but it's like it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, this is a movie now, and the thing, it's like what drove me nuts about Rogue One is now an entire movie,
Well, the hope is that it's Roger Rabbit, right? That's the best case scenario, is that it's action adventure Roger Rabbit with a different.
I'm 100% down for that. I love all the self-aware stuff. And keep in mind, we've talked about this before. I've been friends with the author Ernest Cline for two decades now, so it's going to be hard for me to do anything except for be just positively
just cheerlead.
Yeah, like it's really good, and the world is set fire with it. Well, and I'm stoked for him.
How effing amazing is it that your friend wrote a book that's a hugely beloved sci-fi book, hugely beloved book, and now a Steven Spielberg movie. I mean, that is just effing amazing. And so just hats off to Ernie on that. I mean, that's just awesome.
And also, it is the return of fun Spielberg. When's the last fun Spielberg movie that came out? What, like Catch Me If You Can?
We'll see how this is.
From what chatter I've heard
this seems less heavy than the bridge and the last few things that he's done.
I mean, the last fun Spielberg movie was Indiana Jones.
Okay, well,
good point.
We could speak to one specific point.
I'm like, we'll see.
The story that I had heard is that he did Jaws, and then shortly after Jaws, he did 1942? Is that what it was? 1940 what?
1941.
1941. In 1941 is a parody of a Jaws moment in the middle of it, and apparently he didn't like it and sort of set up either a spoken or unspoken rule where it's like, I'm not going to do parodies of my own stuff. I'm not going to riff on my own material from the past anymore. And he didn't, and he avoided like there were opportunities to, you could make Han Solo run away from a giant rolling boulder or whatever, but he was not a fan of any of that. From what I understand, that was a discussion behind the scenes about like, well, how, in a world where Steven Spielberg movies are part of the world, how much of playing with your own stuff are you going to be doing? And I don't know how far it is, but obviously to some degree, he's willing to swim and play with those, swim in those waters and play with those ideas.
I'm sorry, I was wrong. The last fun Spielberg movie, the attempt at fun was BFG and then Adventures of Tintin.
Yeah.
So Indiana Jones, Tintin, BFG.
Tintin was pretty good. I rather liked Tintin. You didn't like it? I thought the set pieces were fun to watch. I thought the color palette popped. I mean, I watched it with my kids. It seemed fine to me. I was surprised it didn't do better than it did.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I was not the biggest fan of the book. I did get through it, but I am optimistic that a condensed version of that story can make a very fun movie, and I do hope. I mean, I don't know. I guess I do hope that it is a condensed, more layered version of the central plot, which is unrelated to all the IP. It is a story about a kid trying to do a thing, and like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is a whodunit mystery that happens to have every cartoon character on the planet. That this world where everybody is using these beloved avatars of the past is just a rich place in which these things kind of happen, and isn't necessarily quite as cloying as I found Rogue One, where it just so slavish to this very limited palette.
My wife had not seen Rogue One, and I was like, well, we got 20 minutes to kill. The beginning of Rogue One might be the second best beginning in all of the Star Wars franchise. And so I started playing it, and sure enough, like it's the beginning's pretty great. Like the first 20 minutes it had me on the hook even watching it again. You have a self-contained vignette. You have humanity to characters that have not been treated as humans. You have a viscerality to the Empire that did not exist. I dug it, and then it just crawls up its own butt for the rest of it and becomes this.
We don't need to get into the big
Sure.
thing
But
anymore.
but the beginning of Rogue One is good.
Disagree. So I'll just leave it at that. I once it lands, it just dives. It just doesn't pull up from that. I mean, once the ship lands, I'm like, this just gets worse and worse. My opinion. I tried watching it through again. I'm like, and it took me all my strength in the world to be able to watch that movie through again. And again, this is bad, Andrew. I love the movie, guys. I loved everything about it. It looks amazing. Okay, so let me make that clear. Bad Andrew's opinion is, oh, good Lord. And when I got to the point where they're about to go to the Spaceballs, force field thing, I'm like, I just can't. I love Star Wars too much to continue on. I can't watch you do this to yourself.
This really was straight up the plot of Spaceballs.
He's gone from suck to blow.
I was trying to justify everything in it, and I just, I can't. I'm going to give you my take on Ready Player One. So the book left me kind of, it's like, all right, not everything's for me. And I get people I saw War for the Planet of the Apes. I love to be like, oh, it was horrible. I'm like, all right,
Wait, who says War for...
Hold
on. Who said War for Planet of the Apes isn't less than awesome?
Some guy on Twitter, And it's like, I'm like, it's like, dude, you're really in the minority on that it's fine, but not everything's for everybody. And I get people like, I love this, I think it betrays the originals. It's like, I'm going to bet you don't know anything about the originals. I'm going to bet that's a thing you want to say, and then it just copies, Moses and The Great Escape. I'm like, all right, you just named 2 movies that are copied. Which one is it copying, And he left The Bridge Over River Kwai, which actually Pierre Boulez, who wrote the original Planet of the Apes, wrote that book. Anyhow, I digress. I don't want to be that guy. I'm going to tell you, I expected Wonder Woman to suck. I shared snarky little comments back and forth with friends, new people involved in production who said stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to probably suck. Another DC suck. This movie's going to suck. I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. If you were to ask me what I thought were the best superhero movies of the summer, Spider-Man far and clear number 1. And I would say that structurally speaking, I think Wonder Woman was a better film than Guardians. And I love James Gunn and I love Guardians, but I thought, Guardians as a film, there was a flaws. The Peter Quill does nothing for the first 2 acts. He's waiting for things to be revealed to him. There's a lot of beautiful set pieces, but I didn't love that movie like I did the first one. And so I'm willing to be shown. I'm willing to go into something thinking it's going to suck or whatever. And I like to be delighted. And Wonder Woman made more money domestically than Guardians 2 did. Who saw that coming? I didn't.
Yeah. It's close. I mean, they're going to make around I think like 2 million of each other. It's amazing how closely they've tracked.
Well, they're still. I mean, it passed. She passed ahead. So.
Oh yeah, I guess yeah.
Yeah, by 2 million. 389 to 387.
Yeah, I guess it's still got more runway in it.
Wow.
But yeah, no, and I you're right. Nobody would have seen that coming at the beginning of the.
Certainly not 2 people on a team playing a fantasy movie game.
Oh.
So my point is it's Wonder Woman domestically beat Batman versus Superman. It beat that, but I mean, I think that to me the telling thing is it domestically beat Guardians. And in Guardians we were talking. 6 months ago, Justin and I were talking about what are the chances Guardians could do Avengers money.
Exactly.
That trailer was great. And that's what we're talking. And now it feels like, well, that was dopey, But I love the fact, my point is, I love the fact that Wonder Woman surprised me. It surprised me. And I'm okay with that me being, and then it's good. And then going, wow, this is actually really good.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And was there anything else? Any other big... Comic-Con?
Well, there was
I did not
Justice
watch. I guess I saw bits and pieces of the Justice League trailer. I they make great trailers. Can we just talk about how great their trailers are?
Trailers are good. They do good
I never saw Suicide Squad, but that was a fun trailer. That looked like a fun movie that it was pretending to be.
To be honest with you, I don't really go for DC's trailers because they all just look like video game footage and nothing ever feels real to me when I watch them. And I mean real in the sense that like Valerian came out, right? And people are like, what do you think? The effects look great. I'm like, everything looks like an effect. I'm watching people running across this beach, these aliens that look like in an environment that can only exist in a computer. It's like, it reminded me of Phantom Menace, where I'm watching a battlefield that can only exist in a Pixar movie,
Yeah.
And so to me, that's my frustration is that, like, yeah, it's an impossible world you could never imagine. Like, yeah, nothing feels gritty. I don't feel that people really are there. I feel like everything's blue screened. So
yeah, I think it's fairly clear what Justice League wanted to do with their messaging. One was this is Wonder Woman 2, and 2 was this is going to have fun beats to it, and it's not going to be a dour death march slog fest like the last 2 Snyder movies were. So I think it effectively captured that. It dropped enough, and they randomly mentioned, the Green Lantern Corps in the trailer, so as to just seed the idea that that's coming down the pipe. And I think easily the most frustrating thing is just the fact that it's like Superman's logo is on the poster. They have the like you can't save the world by yourself or whatever, and all the different beginning things, like each letter is one of the logos or whatever. And they have Superman's logo on the poster, and it like the end is like, oh, look up in the sky. I wonder who it is.
Right.
It's like Superman's in the Justice League. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm dead to me, I just Wonder Woman is so far the exception, and we'll see, but I think Joss Whedon's done some great stuff, but the Avengers movies are not among my favorite Marvel movies, when it comes to actual story and stuff. I'm not excited about Black Panther. People seem excited about that. Ant-Man, Wasp, that sounds like that could be very, very interesting. That the dude who did Legion is going to be doing Doctor Doom.
Ooh. Also Captain Marvel.
Captain
set
Marvel
in the
sounds
1990s, which means they get to open up a whole other world,
Whole
right?
other world.
Whole
right
world building.
here, right now.
And the debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe of the Skrulls.
Oh,
Yeah.
right on.
The Skrulls are the villains, which I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but
I don't
always
see how
loved the
you can
Skrulls.
have the scrolls and not have some kind of behind the scenes paperwork figured out for the Fantastic Four. Because the scrolls, like, their literal power is to shapeshift and have the powers of the Fantastic Four. Like, you're going to introduce scrolls. At some point, they got to have a rocky hand and turn partially invisible and have a foot on fire or something,
Yeah.
With big stretchy arms.
I mean, if you look at what the Spider-Man deal is, I mean, you never know. It seems like Marvel really wants to kind of expand that universe beyond where we've known it before, and to create a new sort of cycle of heroes. So they're not just doing Captain America 8, So you never know. But I mean, I think I will. The one thing I will absolutely give to DC is they got that Wonder Woman out, that movie out before Marvel could get a Black
JC
Widow.
Calhoun in the chat is taking me to task, pointing out hashtag not all scrolls. It's only Super Skrull that has the powers of the Fantastic Four.
Fair point.
Good
Thank
point.
you.
Good point.
Yeah, and by the way, it's because it's a 20th Century Fox production. There's no saying the FF can't be part of it, but I think if you want to bring back the FF, maybe the Doctor Doom route's the way to go about it.
Yeah.
Now, that'd be interesting. So, what have you heard, or what has been said about the Doctor Doom?
All we know is that during the Legion panel, Noah Hawley, who is the showrunner for both Legion and Fargo,
Right.
said that he is now writing or directing or both. I forget what his exact involvement is, but he is the lead creative force on a Doctor Doom-centric story.
That's awesome.
Which, I mean, anybody who has watched Legion or any of the Fargos knows that he is very committed to wrapping his story around his villains, and he likes to do big, evil, interesting, competent villains. And if you look at one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most slept on, mistreated characters in cinematic history, it's Doctor Doom, who I think is just the best. You know, he's just so good.
Agreed.
So, other rumor is that we're also getting a Creed 2.
Yeah.
And Ivan Drago may appear in it.
Oh, wait, really? Oh, that'd be amazing.
According to Stallone, that would be pretty awesome. So, I want everything, even the things that I'm skeptical of or whatever, to do really, really well. The Defenders trailer looked pretty cool.
Ooh, I am not optimistic about the Defenders. I'll have to see that trailer. The teasers I've seen so far, and the Defenders have been kind of hit and miss on the individual properties on Netflix.
I never finished Jessica Jones, so I haven't seen Luke Cage or Power Man. So or Iron Fist rather. So I'm.
Yeah, the second half of Luke Cage is its own weird thing. First half was great.
First half
was amazing. It was great. I have still not seen Iron Fist, nor do I plan on it.
Right.
But hell, I loved both seasons of Daredevil, and I thought Jessica Jones was good. So this seems interesting, and I don't know. I was not blown away by the Defenders trailer, and I do share your worries that it's like, how much of this team do I really like, and how much are we going to loop in now all these different kind of mythologies? But I think that it has a very, very good chance of just being, if it's more like Daredevil in that, look, this is a straight ahead action adventure story with an unfolding conspiracy plot, and eventually they're going to save the world at the end. Then I think there's a good chance it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So you guys see what else was I pulling up here trailer wise? The other news is it just passed already. Oh, the Star Trek.
Did not see any of that. What's the story on the latest one?
So they released more footage for Star Trek Discovery, which will be the CBS All Access Digital Premium whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a very well produced one, but man, it's one of those things like, man, I don't feel anything, like I don't.
It's just we've just seen so many crap Star Trek shows, right? That it's like it's going to need to get traction for me to take a look. I mean, I'll probably watch the pilot or whatever just to kind of be a part of the zeitgeist. But man, am I not like Star Trek is a brand that needs to win me back a little bit, unless they did a deal with like Netflix to do something with like the movie cast. Like,
okay. So the Star Trek Discovery thing, like that pilot, because if you're not familiar with the deal, they're going to have one episode that will be on real TV. The rest of it will all live behind a paywall on CBS All Access. CBS All Access. If I asked you to name 5 pay-per-view or Netflix style services that you would buy, my guess is that CBS All Access would not make the top 5, and even after this comes out, I bet it won't make the top 5. So they like that pilot better be better than all of the movies put together if you intend for people to suddenly come swarming in to pay $5 a month for the privilege of seeing it behind a paywall. Otherwise, I could see it just quietly, languidly sitting out there and then bursting out onto the pirate video scene like, oh, it's the best show you're not watching. Get ready for that BuzzFeed article.
Yeah, maybe, or it'll just kind of be like another Star Trek show where Star Trek fans and hardcores will really, really like it, and everybody else will just be like, yeah, this kind of seems a little slow and
like all the rest of them. Well, and that's the problem is that's my fear, is that the thinking behind all of this is, well, let's promise another Star Trek. That'll force people to come in the door. And I'm sad.
That's funny with the history of Star Trek for doing that was back in the 1970s, Paramount wanted to launch a 4th network. It was prior to Fox. They were going to do Paramount was going to launch its own syndicated network, and all the stations that could get onto it. And their flagship program was going to be Star Trek Phase 2. And they signed Shatner, Nimoy, I forget who wasn't part of it. They brought back a lot of the original cast, and it was going to be, and they wrote scripts to do Phase 2, which would be a new TV series, would be the flagship show of the network. Plans fell through. They couldn't get enough carriage or whatever. And they're like, well, this is dying. But then Star Wars hit and did great. And they're like, well, we've got scripts, we've got props. Let's make a movie. So they took the pilot episode of Star Trek Phase 2 and it became Star Trek The Motion Picture, which is why it feels like a very extended pilot that doesn't go anywhere. And then from there, they continued on. And then they did Next Generation, which is a syndicated, just a total syndicated play. Next Generation did really well. Then it was back in the 1990s, and they said, well, the UPN was going to launch. And that's when Voyager was launched as one of the flagship shows for UPN.
Right.
So this will be the third time that I think that property.
Oh, Voyager, please come home.
Yeah, we got the new behind-the-scenes footage for Jedi, Last Jedi, which looked good.
It's funny, I was talking to your friend of mine, Riley Blanton, on the Star Wars Report this week, and we were kind of joking at the not-so-subtle messaging that Star Wars likes to get out with these behind-the-scenes little reels with all the interviews, where in the first one it was just any and everybody talking about, look at these puppets, look at all these real places we're at, look, like, hey, if I see the color green, I shoot it with a gun. I'm J.J. Abrams. Like, we went to real space to shoot everything.
Right.
Like, no composite effects at all. And now in this one, it's all like, wow, this script, so different.
Yeah.
So different. It's just totally, you will never expect it. Like, it's like, okay, so the first one you're saying this isn't the prequels. The second one you're saying this isn't just a retweet of another Star Wars movie.
Right.
Somebody in the commented mentioned Star Trek as being a libertarian socialist fantasy behind a paywall. I'm going to make this clear. There's nothing libertarian about Star Trek.
Yeah, no, there's zero libertarian about
it. It is a socialist fascist fantasy.
Right. You'll notice all the architecture is all top down. Yeah, we're going to get started. We
got to wrap this up here.
Yeah.
You want to go to space? Join the military, folks. Only way you can do it.
There's only one way up there.
You want to be an explorer, 1930s Germany? Join the SS.
So what else? You got any picks? I'm still enjoying, man. I hopped on my Rad Power Bike, my e-bike, radpowerbikes.com/rogue, and just rode my bike for 90 minutes during we finally had a cool front come through. And there was a gorgeous, unbelievable sunset, and I spent the entire time listening to the audiobook of Station Breaker, and I'm just having the most fun listening to it. Please do yourself a favor. Sign up at audible.com/rogue, get your free 30 days, and use your credit to get Station Breaker.
Thank you. The reviews, if you look at that, are like crazy.
5 stars, 175 customers.
5 star.
Yeah. But, I just tried to write a book that I would have fun with, and it seemed to resonate. So it's in ebook. It's in Audible format.
Hell yeah. It's great. I will vouch for that as well. My pick is Action News, the new card game.
9 days to go, man.
We're in the back 9, baby. And we're having a pretty good day today, so everybody go ahead and spread the word on this. This is the time to make sure that we can punch through as much of these as we can. We can make the deck as big and beautiful as possible. And really, our big push is 1,000 backers. 1,000 backers gives us enough money to make the app that can be downloaded and time out all your rounds and everything.
Very exciting. Can you give details on what you're thinking about for the app? Is that top secret still?
No, I mean it's going to be a hopefully a very slick looking timer that has some ambiance and effects that kind of brings you and your friends and family into the game.
So like thinking you don't know Jack style, like 30 seconds to air, that kind of thing.
We hope. You know, we're going to be putting it together ourselves. So I don't want to make too many promises that so we underdeliver, but that is along the lines of what we're looking for.
That would be amazing.
My pick is War for the Planet of the Apes. If you haven't seen it, by all means, check it out. I really, really enjoyed it. And I heard comments in there that I could address at a later point. But I would say any of the quibbles I've heard from people, like, I think that was addressed.
Yeah.
So I just when I went back and I watched the first two, it was that good. I said, let me go back and rewatch the first two, And just I love the story, and I love that where the focus moves to. And I'm a fan of the originals. I own all the originals. Watched those since I was a kid. Read behind the scenes books. Read as much as you can imagine on it, and looking at what the story. Read the Pierre Boulet book. I've even read the synopsis of the script he tried to write for this. He wrote a sequel to Planet of the Apes when they wanted to do the second one, called Planet of the Men, and kind of bonkers. But anyhow. And there was even an attempt they were going to do in one version of it. You can see makeup tests for a kid that is a half human, half ape hybrid.
Oh, wow.
They wanted to do for the original. So kind of crazy. So anyhow, that's my pick, War for the Planet of the Apes.
Boom.
It's been after
4 o'clock. Nailed it.
Right on time.
Alrighty. So you probably got to get to Hotline.
Yeah,
Justin?
so I can either do it here.
Yeah, go ahead and do it here. I'm gonna vacate and read my stories for cord killers.
Yeah, give me a few minutes, Justin, and I'll give you.
All right, roger that.
Cool.
I'm going to go eat.
Ooh, big man. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Here I am again, floating through the silence in my cold skin. My body is wearing thin.